Hello, what's your name?
My name is Todd Dice.
And what is the first time you remember seeing a Cal Poly float?
Okay, well, my sister went here, and she marched in the Tournament of Roses Parade in 1973. So my first float I remember is Monster Matinee.
Very nice. Which floats did you work on, and what was your position while you were at Cal Poly?
Well, my first float was Hard Rock, 1980. My last float was A Night to Remember. But something memorable I wanted to point out was when I came in as a freshman, I didn't really remember that Rose Float existed. But when I went to freshman orientation, they're going through the clubs and what have you, and I'm just like, okay, boring. And then Bobby Roderick came up, and she presented the video of Tug of War on TV, and I went, I want to do that. So when they were over, I ran over to the table and told Bobby Roderick, I know how to weld, I know how to work in a machine shop. Where do I come? Where's the lab at? When can I sign up? When can I start? I just knew this is what I wanted to do. So that's really what made me want to do this. In 1980, I was just in the club, and I have the rendering here. I keep this in my office. And then here's the actual float on route. Now, I was responsible for, since they kind of saw I had a mechanical knack, I designed the leg, and I designed this egg. Now, the thing I want to emphasize to students is you should try something, even if it doesn't work. Because people in the audience and on TV, they're not going to know if it does or doesn't. Well, as it turns out, both of those didn't work. The leg of the dinosaur, I'm pretty certain we couldn't operate it because it was knocking the flowers off the body. But on the egg, what I hadn't taken account of is the weight of the egg after you apply the flowers and the webbing over the top of the chicken wire. So I made some sketches in SolidWorks. This is how I actually did it. It was just a cage, and I had a windshield wiper motor with a lever, and I just had a weight in there. And it was sitting on top of some die springs, and the idea, of course, was it to rock. Well, once you added all that weight, that counterweight didn't do a darn thing. So what I should have done was like this. It should have been the motor, but with a lever arm fixed to a fixed point. So no matter how much that thing weighs, it was going to rock. But again, I didn't know. I was 19 years old. What the heck did I know? But at least we tried. You got to try. Because even when I got involved in Rose Float, they were known for their humor. They were known for putting the first float builder to put a computer in the machine. And we were known for our humor and animation. So, it's really important that we continue that tradition because we're just so well known for it. Other things that I have, because of my enthusiasm, I was graciously awarded the most enthusiastic freshman by Bobby Roderick. And again, these hang in my office at work. Then I have my certificate for Snowpoke for being on committee. I was assistant construction chairman for Snowpoke, and then I took a brief. I just didn't work on a few floats, and then I came back and worked on Night Remember. Probably some of the other things I think would be beneficial for students to know is at the time that I was in float, I did struggle a little here at Cal Poly, and I should have gone to Ron Simons, who was the actual liaison between the school and float, and I think he would have helped me in guiding me in the right direction because I did have a lot of other things going on in my life, and so basically float became the number one most important thing to me. And as a 19, 20-year-old, it's really, even though Rose Float is important and you should do your best, you can't let your school studies or other things take set and fiddle. It isn't a good thing. But you said you had some other questions. I'm not
Yes.
certain.
What went right and what went wrong during your time on float that you remember? So you said you had some mechs that didn't work. Are there any other things?
Yeah, well, I do have a memory. In fact, I have my coveralls here, and this little deal here is I was welding the inside of the dinosaur on the hard rock, and I'm sitting like this, and I'm welding over my head. Not the smartest thing with nothing in my lap, so my lap caught on fire. And of course, when your coveralls are covered in hydraulic fluid and what have you, that's, having something flammable in your lap isn't a good deed. So, what are some of the other things? All I really have are stories of other members of the club. I don't know if I should speak for them, but they are wonderful memories. Like a donations chairman, I'll leave her name out, who wrote to Dr. Pepper asking if they could donate Pepsi to us for Hard Rock or for Snowpoke, and I blame her for my new addiction to Dr. Pepper. I've been addicted to Dr. Pepper ever since, because we had it every day when we were in Rosemont Pavilion. I learned how to build a Tangelo cannon here. That's thanks to Steve Nanning, because we used to shoot it towards the police department. I really appreciated how dedicated and how smart people were, especially my mentor, Ward Palmer. The guy was brilliant, and I just liked being around him, because I just felt like anything that he did, it would rub off on me, and I could learn to be a better engineer. I appreciated the other friendships I made. I mentioned Bobby Roderick. Another one was Susan Bergman. She was like an older sister to me. She took care of me. She taught me, or she introduced me to some salads I had never experienced before. Like she made a salad with olive oil. Well, Italian dressing with Fritos in it. I still eat it like that. It's really good. She also introduced me with chili with Fritos in it. I'd never done that before. I have wonderful memories of Dale Wong, Tino Wong. Of course, she was Tino Muto back then. Debbie Palmer, Jody Gerstner, Carlos Van Natter, Michelle Gendro.
So,
Mallory.
And you said you worked on the leg and the egg on Hard Rock.
Yes.
Are there any other mechs you worked on?
Yes, I did the neck on Snowpoke. Now, Snowpoke, it's interesting that you need to... One of the things we had problems on that float was scheduling. We were way behind on it. We were actually finishing it in Rosemont Pavilion, which you never want to do. In fact, we got it there, and we hadn't even skinned it yet. And when the judges came and we had to actually run it, it wasn't completely finished. The tail wasn't finished, so it was bad. So then trying to stay on schedule, that's important.
Did you work on any for A Night to Remember, or not?
Night to Remember, I mostly did some work that I remember. I think that's the float where they decided to go with all-wheel steering. So I machined some of the components for that. I'm pretty certain that was the one. But I don't have any really big memories, because again, that was right after I graduated from Mount Sac and I came back to Cal Poly. So by then, I limited my time with float. Probably not as much as I'd like to have done, but I did what I could, and that's really what I remember.
And what are your favorite memories throughout the program, and your favorite float of the three you worked on?
My favorite memory, well, there's so many. I mean, I remember having parties. Like, we had a party I think it was at Susan Bergman's house. I remember getting into the B-52s because of her, and probably her and gosh, the chairman of Snowpoke. I'm sorry, I don't remember it right now.
So what was your favorite float prank and your favorite activity?
My favorite prank. Well, again, this was done by somebody else.
That's fine.
Okay. On Hard Rock. See if I can get that picture out. And again, I'm speaking for someone else. Steve Nanning made a penis with balls that hung from the bottom of the dinosaur. And then Susan Bergman came to the lab and basically gave him a ration of crap. And so the joke, at least in our circle, was, how do you geld a dinosaur? So that still has meaning to people in our age group who worked on that float. How do you geld a dinosaur? What was the other question?
Your favorite float activity.
Favorite float activity? I loved welding. I still do. I mean, I still do it. I'm 54 now, and I have my own company that I run or co-own with a friend from high school, and I still weld our frames. I love doing that. I also, now I also love designing. I love SolidWorks, doing everything in 3D CAD. It just makes doing everything that much more efficient. In fact, I would emphasize too that because now you can put it in the computer. I donated what drawings I had of Snowpoke to the archives. If all that information had been in the computer, you could just reuse it over and over again because you wouldn't be having to overcome the same obstacles that Ward Palmer had or that I had when you're trying to animate something, a linkage, like on Hard Rock, it was the neck of the dinosaur that Ward had. I love that thing. It was neat, but he hated it. And so another favorite memory was when we brought the float back, he got on top of the dinosaur and got out the cutting torch and cut it off from the base, from right here. Okay, now, at the time, the slab was still brand new, and we were still putting the roof on. So Ward's up there, and he's cutting it, and the whole thing just goes bam on the slab and takes a big divot out of the concrete. And he says, I hope Bobby doesn't see this. It's just like, Another favorite memory, back in my time, the float was ours. We get to do anything we wanted with it. So that roof that you're looking at, we put up. The lights, the chairman of 1981. Gosh, I can't. His name is running a blank. I'm so sorry because I'm friends with you on Facebook too. But he's on the man lift. Robert Kobus, dummy. Robert Kobus. He's on the man lift. He's putting up those lights. So those lights that are shining down the float, those were put up there by Robert Kobus. I wish the campus would allow the kids to actually own their lab and allow them to do those things. I mean, that's how you learn about electricity. It's how you learn how to run conduits. These are the basic elements that kids, frankly, just don't know. And friends of mine who are my age who try to hire kids out of college, they frankly say they don't know anything. Well, those are the things they would learn doing the Rose Float, because it's more than just building a float. There's the other ancillary items that involve that you need. Another favorite memory. You guys have Pandora and you have these nice speakers. Well, those chintzy little loudspeakers, that was our stereo speakers. And we just had a radio. Well, being down here in this canyon, there was only really 2 good stations you could get. So one memory I have at the time, a big album was Cornerstone by Styx, and their top song was Babe. So I have memories of Babe coming out of those chintzy little speakers every night. And Ward and I are here by ourselves welding or doing what have you, and I hear Babe. And, at the time, or still now. I mean, my wife was my girlfriend then. I met my wife in high school, so you know, on one hand, she's saying, how come we're not out on a date on a Friday and Saturday night? Well, it's because I'm at the lab and I'm working. So having that song play every night just made it that much tougher. But I'm happy to say we're celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary this coming October 5th, and so, you know, relationships can last even if your wife isn't interested in the same things you are.
And the final question is, do you have any advice to current or future floaters?
Don't be afraid to try something new or ask, can we do that? Because that's how you learn anything. I mean, I think, like I've mentioned before, don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't be afraid to try something, because the audience and the people on television are not going to know that that's not working like you had planned. But even in your failures, you'll learn something, and you'll learn moving forward what you can and can't do. I think it's so important in Rose Float. It was a valuable experience to me. I still love it. And many might not know I brought my daughter here, hoping that she might have the same fire, and so far she does. So I just loved it. The people I met, we all had the same common goals. It was just awesome. I just loved it. So
Thank you, Todd Dice.